Preparing for a General Mills FP&A Analyst interview, you've reached Candy Mentor, and this video is for you. We'll walk through 15 key questions you're likely to face. For each question, you'll see a sample answer followed by the key points to cover. Subscribe, like, and share, and drop a topic request in the comments. Question 1. What does FP&A do, and how would you add value at General Mills? FP&A is the bridge between financial data and operating decisions. In a General Mills role, I would support planning, forecasting, reporting, and variance analysis while partnering with marketing, sales, supply chain, and manufacturing. I would explain what changed, why it changed, and what action is available. Strong FP&A also improves accountability. Owners understand targets, risks, and trade-offs. Ultimately, the function helps leaders allocate resources toward profitable growth, productivity, and reliable execution. While answering, focus on FP&A's role, budgeting, forecasting, variance analysis, business partnering, and translating financial results into decisions for General Mills brands and categories. Question 2. What is the difference between a budget, forecast, and long-range plan? A budget is the formal financial target for a defined period, while a forecast is management's latest view of likely performance. A long-range plan extends the analysis across several years and connects financial expectations with strategy. At General Mills, I would use the budget to measure accountability, the forecast to identify emerging risks, and the long-range plan to evaluate brand investment, capacity, productivity, and portfolio choices. Keeping assumptions transparent prevents these tools from becoming disconnected exercises. Make sure to cover the budget as an approved target, the forecast as an updated outlook, and the long-range plan as a strategic view, including timing, assumptions, ownership, and decision usefulness. Question 3. How would you investigate an unfavorable sales variance? I would first confirm that the reported variance is accurate and compare actual results with both budget and prior year. Then I would decompose sales into volume, pricing, product mix, promotional activity, customer, geography, and timing. For example, lower revenue could reflect lost units, a delayed shipment, or unfavorable mix rather than weak demand. I would discuss the findings with sales and brand teams, quantify the outlook impact, and document the corrective action. In your answer, talk about validating the data, decomposing revenue into volume, price, mix, promotion, timing, and foreign exchange, then identifying owners and recommending corrective actions. Question 4. How would you build a sales forecast for a General Mills product category? I would begin with historical shipments and consumption trends, separating recurring seasonality from unusual events. Next, I would layer in distribution changes, pricing, promotional plans, innovation, customer assumptions, and category growth. I would reconcile the forecast with sales and marketing rather than relying only on a spreadsheet. Finally, I would create upside and downside cases, identify the largest sensitivities, and compare the forecast against capacity and inventory plans. That makes the forecast operationally credible. Be sure to mention historical trends, baseline demand, price changes, promotions, distribution, seasonality, customer inputs, market conditions, and scenario analysis with clear assumption ownership. Question 5. How do price, volume, and mix affect revenue and profit? Price measures the impact of changing realized selling prices, volume captures changes in units sold, and mix reflects the shift between products, channels, or customers. A favorable revenue bridge can still produce weaker profit if volume shifts toward lower margin items or promotions deepen. I would calculate each effect consistently, reconcile the bridge to reported results, and discuss the commercial drivers with sales. This analysis helps determine whether growth is genuinely value-creating. Focus on defining price, volume, and mix effects, distinguishing revenue from margin impact, considering promotions and product economics, and explaining how the bridge supports commercial decisions. Question 6. How would you analyze a gross margin decline? I would bridge gross margin from the prior period, separating pricing, volume and mix, commodities, manufacturing productivity, freight, labor, foreign exchange, and promotional investment. I would also test whether timing or accounting classification created a distortion. For General Mills, commodity and supply chain assumptions could be especially important, so I would compare actual costs with the latest forecast and procurement expectations. The conclusion should identify actions such as pricing, productivity, sourcing, or portfolio changes, not merely explain the decline. While answering, cover commodity inflation, pricing, productivity, manufacturing costs, freight, mix, promotions, foreign exchange, and separating temporary pressures from structural profitability issues. Question 7. Why is working capital important in an FP&A role? Working capital matters because profit does not automatically convert into cash. I would monitor receivables, inventory, payables, and the cash conversion cycle while understanding operational drivers behind each balance. In a consumer products business, reducing inventory too aggressively could create out of stocks, so the objective is optimized cash rather than the lowest possible inventory. I would forecast balances, investigate unusual movements, and partner with supply chain and commercial teams on practical actions. Make sure to cover receivables, inventory, payables, cash conversion, service levels, forecasting, and the trade-off between releasing cash and protecting customer availability. Question 8. How would you explain a forecast miss to senior management? I would communicate the miss directly, quantify its drivers, and distinguish what was known, what changed unexpectedly, and what our process failed to capture. I would avoid blaming external factors without evidence. For instance, I might explain that volume was below forecast because a customer promotion shifted timing, while also acknowledging that the model overstated promotional lift. I would then update assumptions, assign follow-up owners, and show the revised outlook and prevention steps. In your answer, talk about owning the result, quantifying the variance, separating controllable from external causes, explaining forecast process gaps, and presenting specific remediation steps. Question 9. Which Excel tools would you use for FP&A analysis? I would use structured tables, SUMIFs, XLOOKUP, pivot tables, and dynamic charts for recurring analysis. For forecasts, I would build clearly labeled assumptions, scenario switches, and reconciliation checks so users can trace outputs to source data. I would also use conditional formatting to highlight exceptions and protect critical formulas. For larger recurring reports, Power Query could improve efficiency. My priority is not complexity. It is a model that is accurate, flexible, and easy to review. Be sure to mention formulas, pivot tables, lookups, data validation, scenario controls, charts, error checks, and automation, while emphasizing auditability and clear documentation. Question 10. How would you ensure the accuracy of an FP&A report? I would start by reconciling the report to the approved general ledger or reporting system and confirming the correct period, entity, currency, and accounting treatment. I would run completeness checks, compare totals with prior versions, investigate unusual variances, and verify formulas through sample calculations. Before distribution, I would obtain an independent review for material outputs. I would also maintain version control and an assumptions log, creating a clear audit trail for management. Focus on source system reconciliation, completeness, period and entity checks, variance thresholds, independent review, version control, and documenting assumptions before distributing the report. Question 11. Tell me about a time you challenged a business partner's assumption. In a prior project, a commercial partner assumed a promotion would generate a significant volume lift based on an earlier event. I listened to the rationale, then compared the proposed activity with historical lift, customer participation, margin, and timing. The data supported a smaller base case, so I presented that alongside an upside scenario rather than simply rejecting the assumption. We agreed on milestone tracking and revised the forecast after early results. The relationship improved because the discussion remained objective. Make sure to cover respectful communication, evidence-based analysis, listening first, quantified alternatives, alignment on risks, and maintaining the relationship after reaching a decision. Question 12. A General Mills brand is missing its sales and profit targets. What would you recommend? I would first determine whether the problem is demand, distribution, pricing, mix, or cost execution. I would compare the brand with category growth, competitors, customer performance, and historical trends. Then I would quantify options such as improving distribution, refining promotions, adjusting pack architecture, reducing costs, or reallocating marketing support. I would recommend a prioritized plan with expected revenue, margin, investment, and timing impacts. Finally, I would establish milestones to test whether the intervention is working. While answering, focus on diagnosing demand, pricing, distribution, mix, costs, and competitive factors, then prioritizing actions based on consumer impact, economics, timing, and measurable milestones. Question 13. How would you model the financial impact of a supply chain disruption? I would map the disruption to affected products, plants, customers, and time periods. The model would estimate lost or delayed units, net sales, margin, inventory changes, expedited freight, alternative sourcing costs, and potential customer penalties. I would create base, downside, and recovery scenarios, incorporating production capacity and customer prioritization. I would clearly separate one-time costs from recurring effects and update the forecast as facts emerge. That gives leadership a practical basis for trade-offs. In your answer, include lost or delayed volume, customer prioritization, expedited freight, alternative sourcing, inventory effects, fixed cost absorption, recovery timing, and scenario ranges. Question 14. How would you evaluate a proposed marketing investment? I would evaluate incremental rather than reported sales, because some volume may have occurred without the investment or may cannibalize another product. I would estimate contribution margin after trade spending, media, production, and distribution costs, then calculate return, payback, and break-even volume. I would compare the proposal with alternative investments and identify key sensitivities. If uncertainty is high, I would recommend a measured test with defined success metrics before scaling nationally. Be sure to mention incremental sales, contribution margin, cannibalization, media or promotion costs, consumer response, payback, test design, and comparing returns with alternative uses of capital. Question 15. Why do you want to work in FP&A at General Mills? I am attracted to General Mills because its recognizable brands sit within a complex consumer products environment where finance directly influences decisions. FP&A would let me combine analytical work with collaboration across marketing, sales, supply chain, and operations. I am especially interested in understanding how pricing, innovation, productivity, and consumer demand translate into performance. I would bring strong attention to detail, curiosity, and clear communication, while developing into a finance partner who helps teams grow profitably. Focus on General Mills' consumer brands, category and supply chain complexity, cross-functional learning, analytical contribution, values, and how the role supports disciplined growth and productivity. If you are still with us, congratulations, you are much ahead of the rest and serious about preparing for your interview. We hope we were able to add value to your preparation and create some helpful content. Do not forget to like and share this video. Your small act can do great things for us.